What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of It's Called Football on the Vendetta Sports and Media YouTube channel. As always, Jerry Walker and Jackson Fyda here. It's the first match back from an international break for the Premier League, and as we said beforehand, Jackson, it looks a little
it's gross, to say the least. Like, you don't look at any of these matchups and say, wow, I can't wait to watch this one. You know, unless maybe you're a Tottenham fan. But even then, why would you wait for that? Why would you wait for that kind of beating? So, like, every other game we're looking at, it's just not it's not as exciting as we'd see in other weeks.
No, absolutely. We will get to a couple, I think we have 3 matches we're going to go in depth on, preview, and kind of give our predictions for the rest of the 7 matches this upcoming weekend. Before we do that, we're going to touch on some international break stuff. It was relatively straightforward international break. UEFA Nations League, CONCACAF Nations League, CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, African Cup of Nations qualifying, which saw a shock there. But otherwise, it's going to be a pretty straightforward episode this week. Before we do that, how are you doing on this Thursday afternoon, Jackson?
I'm good. We got Premier League footy back this weekend, so all is good. So
we really do. I'm here for it as well. So we'll get into it, starting off with the international break, and we'll start on the European side of things, as this is an English Premier League show. England did what they had to do, got by Ireland 5-0. I didn't expect anything different. The only thing I was surprised about, 4 different players scored their first goals in wearing an England jersey. So Anthony Gordon, Conor Gallagher, Taylor Hayward-Bellis, and Jared Bowen all got goals. So props to the 4 of them. Harry Kane opened it up, but I mean, there was a red card, and then England promptly scored 3 goals in the next 7 minutes, to be expected. Don't really have much else on the England performance. Is this kind of what you expected from them?
Yeah, I mean, Ireland right now is in a serious state of rebuild. Like, compared to Irish teams that we've seen in the past, this Irish team is not very good. So playing at England and going a man down in the 51st, just that killed it. Like, at that point, they were cooked, to be completely honest. So, I mean, I didn't really expect anything less. 5 goals is a lot. Like, I didn't expect to be 5. But
yeah. And there were some other ones that were some very one-sided score lines. I mean, on the recentness, the last 2 days, Norway won 5-0 over Kazakhstan. Shocker. Erling Haaland had a hat trick. Who would have thought that? But then it was Germany won 7-0 against Bosnia over it. Team that looked really good was Sweden. Beat Azerbaijan 6-0. And it was Victor Gyökeres who had 4 goals himself. Dejan Kubalevsky, the Tottenham midfielder, had a pair of goals himself. So players are flying high from the Premier League all over. Other team I want to give a shout out to. We talked about it before. We started San Marino, the 210th ranked team out of, I want to say, 210 teams in FIFA's rankings. Got their 2nd win in this UEFA Nations League. They now have 3 wins since they started being an independent footballing nation. Props to them. Liechtenstein, you found your match. The only team that San Marino has ever beat. They beat them now 3-1 over the weekend. Good on them. Like, that's cool to see. And now they get promoted to the next level into League C of the Nations League. What is your thoughts on this whole Nations League thing to begin with? Because it's not really.
I mean, so it's cool to see a nation like San Marino get an opportunity to get a competitive victory, and then move up in the different league phases. Like that's pretty cool to see. I think that's the coolest element of all this. But overall, I feel like this is an incredible waste of time, to be completely honest. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't have that same feel. Like, I'd rather just see friendlies at this point. That's what it is for a lot of these teams. Like England, they're looking at their path back to League A as basically just a bunch of friendlies that they should win, right? Like, players decided not to go with the national team during this window. I don't know. It's pretty pointless for everyone outside of League A, especially. I mean, I get it is good again because it gives teams a chance to qualify for tournaments as well because UEFA uses the Nations League as part of their qualification process for the Euros and for the World Cup. For the teams that don't qualify directly, I think it's the 4 best or 3 best Nations League finishers who didn't get top 2, something like that, will get a chance. So, like, that's pretty cool to see. It gives teams like, San Marino, for example, a chance where if you win your Nations League, you've got a shot at qualifying for a tournament because you'll go into the playoffs. So I think that part's pretty cool. I just think you could have revamped the qualification process as a whole rather than doing all this. It's just, at the end of the day, it's a money grab. And it's just not, I don't know. I think it's stupid. I miss the Confederations Cup.
Yep.
Like, straight up. I miss just having the Confederations Cup. Now we have this Nations League bull crap, and we've got the Club World Cup getting expanded. I'm just not here for it. Not.
Because like you talked about the international friendlies, it's fun to see these big teams play other big teams, and we got a little bit of that in this. We saw France play Italy, where realistically it was the winner of that match would win their League A group, and then being France, who won 3-1. So that was about the most exciting I think we had this entire international break. We'll say it was surprising that the French drew with Israel. So shout out to the Israelis because that was a great result for them. But at the same time, it's like, does this actually matter?
Yeah, and the answer is no.
No. We have our four set up for the League A playoffs. Spain and Germany, France and Portugal were the 4 teams that advanced. I'm fine with that. Those are 4 entertaining, or I guess it'll be 3 entertaining games, 2 semis and a final. I don't quite know who is matched up with who yet. But
is it in quarterfinals now?
Oh, are they doing quarterfinals?
Yeah, they're doing quarterfinals now. So, what is it? In March, I guess they do the first quarterfinal. Yeah, they're doing the draw in one day. Yeah.
So
and then the semis will be in June and finals in June as well.
Oh yeah. On top of that, then the other teams that have qualified: Croatia, Italy, Netherlands, and Denmark. So, all right, could be some surprises there. If I had to put my money on anyone, I don't think you can turn down Spain from being the favorites to win this.
Yeah. Switzerland gave them a decent game the other day.
To
be fair. I mean, they ended up being relegated. But Spain is beatable. But when you look at how they did in their actual group, 5 wins, 1 draw, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, and I will say, you also look at the team that Spain put out there against Switzerland. Not bashing anyone, but it's not the same team that won the Euros last time.
No.
So, not and to be expected, but hey, a win's a win. Doesn't matter how you get it. But otherwise, not much else on the UEFA Nations League. Some intriguing stuff in South America, per usual. Brazil struggled again, drew with Uruguay 1-1. I just don't believe, I still don't think Brazil's that good. They just keep finding ways to just disappoint time and time again. It's a big difference from the Brazil teams we've had in the past.
Yeah, and this has been an issue we've seen with Brazil as of recent. They're just not the Brazil that we're used to seeing. And we talked about this before the Copa America this past summer, and it feels so. It just doesn't feel Brazilian when you watch them play. They don't play with that same level of passion, that same level of joy that you used to see on Brazilian teams. You don't see that flair. You don't see that Brazilian desire that you used to see. And now it's just, they're going through a little bit of a rough phase, which, Brazil's rough phase is still better than 99% of nations will ever achieve.
Agreed.
But it's still just for their overall quality as a footballing nation, not just with players, but fan support and all that. You expect so much more. And Brazil, as of recent, just has not been, they just haven't been providing the kind of results that they should be as part of the Brazilian national team. And again, you could say there's a drop off in players, but at the end of the day, you still have Vinicius Jr., Rafinha, who's looking like the best player in the world right now.
Mhm.
You have other players, Gabriel Martinelli, Savinho. Those are the attackers. Midfield, you still have a decent one with Bruno Guimaraes, Lucas Paqueta. And then defensively, you still have some decent players as well. Marquinhos, Gabriel from Arsenal played really well during this international break. He's a very good player as well. You've got good players. Again, not as much as other Brazilian teams may have had, like if you go back 2002 through 2010, that kind of era, and then before that. But like overall, you should still be getting more results going your way with the players you have than you are right now. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just kind of a weird culture shift to see. Like as soon as Neymar is retiring, getting to that older age, we've seen a bit of a drop off, and maybe Brazil does need that star player to carry them through like Neymar was doing for a large segment of time. And Vinicius Jr. hasn't proven to quite be that guy yet for Brazil. So maybe that's part of the issue. I don't really know, but it is interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, definitely is. They sit fifth, and this is my other issue with like Brazil. We say they're struggling; they're still going to qualify for the World Cup easily, as the top 6 of 10 teams in CONMEBOL do. 7th place team goes to the Interconfederations Cup playoff thing.
Yeah.
But it looks straightforward for Brazil. They should make it. Ecuador has been a surprise team as of late. They got a big win over Colombia, who has now lost 3 of their last 4 since they went on that huge, long, unbeaten streak. So Colombia's coming back down to earth a little bit. Argentina still looks good. Uruguay still looks good. It's going to be spicy at the bottom, though, I will say, for that last spot. Peru sits in 10th with 7. Chile has 9. Venezuela has 12, and Bolivia is sitting in that 7th place playoff spot. It has 13 points. A lot of games left to be played as well for all these teams. I think they have 6 matches left. So should be some fun stuff coming up. Staying in the Americas, kind of just quick touch on the CONCACAF Nations League. We saw a bit of drama, especially in that first game between Honduras and Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You're more the expert on all that. So what's been happening in the CONCACAF side of things?
So we'll continue on with the Mexico situation because you just brought that up. They go down 2-0 in leg 1 at Honduras, which the Honduran fans, they showed up, but they were very rowdy to say the least. Throwing stuff. Mexico's head coach got a gash on his head from something that was thrown at him. Crazy scenes, down 2-0. This happened last CONCACAF Nations League as well for Mexico in the quarterfinals. They go down 2-0, and then they come back. That's exactly what they did this time around. They're down 2-0. They get the goal. It's 2-1. Honduras was hanging on for a while. They actually had some chances as well, but as soon as they got that second goal off a free kick, floodgates open just like that. They get the third, and then later on they get a penalty, which get the fourth. They win 4-2. They take care of business, but they looked very, very labored in doing it. It wasn't easy. They're down 2-0. They have to come back. That's not what you want to see if you're a Mexico fan, because it just didn't look great from a Mexico perspective. You ultimately got it done, but it was not comfortable, and this has happened back-to-back CONCACAF Nations League now. Kind of a concern, but they got through. They're going to the semis. U.S. took care of business. Won first leg, 1-0 in Jamaica. Matt Turner had a big PK save. And then at that point, you carry that momentum into the next one. Give up a few goals, but still win pretty comfortably. Yeah. So U.S. goes through. Mexico goes through. Everyone kind of expected that. And then, Canada also. They go through.
It was the 4 teams that didn't have to play in the group stage.
Yeah.
All got through.
Yeah.
U.S., Canada, Mexico, and Panama.
The Panama-Costa Rica game was actually very interesting. That was a good one. Yeah.
That was. Because, there was a lot on the line because Panama only won the first leg 1-0. So it was very much all to play for there. I was happy to see Suriname made it there because I did not really expect them to do much. But I guess that's what happens when you have Guatemala, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Guyana all in the same group. We will see what comes of them in the future. Can't imagine it's going to be too much, but
they have some decent dual national players that they've gotten from the Netherlands.
I guess that is true. Yeah, they are the Dutch.
What was it? Geraldo Becker plays for Real Sociedad. He plays for Suriname now. Got some dude playing for Hamburger, QPR, Middlesbrough. They've got some okay players, pretty good players.
I think that's my new favorite team. Team in Suriname, Sporting Vereniging Robin Hood.
Is that what the keeper plays?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a lot of European guys. Got guys in Turkey, the Netherlands, obviously, Italy, Russia, Switzerland, Sweden. I mean, so and a guy who plays for Ferencváros in Hungary, who that's a European team time and time again, it seems, from the Hungarian league. So actually a better team, more talented than I thought. So
yeah, a lot of dudes who were born in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Then you look at the semifinals coming up. I think we all know how it's going to go. Somehow it's USA and Panama on one side and Canada, Mexico on the other. I'm expecting US and Mexico because that always seems to be the way it happens.
Hey, but Canada, though. Canada and Mexico is a pretty good matchup. I'll say that.
Oh, it is. Definitely better than, I mean, and USA Panama won't be a bad one at all either.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
I just have a feeling the US is still the best team in CONCACAF, so should have that pretty straightforward. Only other one, I mean, going to touch briefly on Africa and Asia just because why not? Africa is pretty straightforward. The AFCON qualification was going on. The only big surprise was Ghana finished bottom of their group, so they will not be going to Morocco for the African Cup of Nations. Pretty surprising there. Is there any other stuff you want to bring up for Africa?
Go on, Uganda.
Yeah.
Uganda made it in. Like I always love seeing the AFCON because you get some interesting teams always making it in where you usually wouldn't think about them. And then they find a way to make it in the tournament. It happens every single time. And I feel like a lot of times there's a big team, kind of like Ghana in this case, that you'd expect to easily walk into the tournament that doesn't make it as well. So that qualification is always, always fun. And heading into this, you got some other interesting teams as well that very curious to see how they perform. Always like seeing teams like Mozambique, Benin, Sudan made it, Comoro made it. Like teams like that, seeing them play, that's always fun, especially in the AFCON. The AFCON's such a fun tournament to watch. And you get to see the very top where you see elite players who kill it in Europe. And then you see, again, no disrespect, Matt, but you see players who play at more meager levels. But when they all go on the same pitch, it is just so awesome to watch.
Oh, definitely. And we're missing, there's a lot of teams from the last AFCON who made it to the knockout round that aren't going to be competing this year. Mauritania made it and lost in the round of 16. They're out in qualifying. Obviously, Ghana, Guinea, who made it all the way to the quarterfinals and lost 3-1 to the DR Congo, fell out in the group stage. Guinea-Bissau made it to the African Cup of Nations last year. Namibia made it to the knockout round last time around. So it's a lot of up and down for a lot of teams who made it 2 years ago and will be missing out this time around. But that's what makes it so much fun and so special, I think. Only other international one really to hop into, like we could talk about the Oceanic one, but personally, I know next to nothing about that. I just assume New Zealand wins everything all the time, but I know for a fact we look at it. Looking at their results. They played Samoa on Monday. Did you see what the score of that one was?
Was that the 8-1 or 9-0?
8-0. So
8-0.
Pretty much it was straightforward there, but the Asian World Cup qualifying is still ongoing, and it's not been a bad time at all. Iran's finally clinched a spot to at least advance, whether it's to the fourth round or to the World Cup. On the downside, North Korean dream, it looks like it's all but over. I will say.
I mean, there's still a chance, right? Because top two go through to the round 4.
Yeah, the top 2 go to the World Cup.
Whatever it is.
3 and 4 go to the fourth round.
Or is it honestly? I'm honestly spacing. Is it the top?
It's the top 2 each group qualify for the World Cup, and then the next 2, so the third and fourth place teams from the 3 groups go into the fourth round, which is 2 groups of 3.
So there is still a shot for North Korea, right? But they would have to. What do they got? 3 games left.
They have 4 games left.
4 games left. Yeah, they'd have to pick up some results and do so very fast.
Yeah, and I don't think they really have the games on their side. Qatar away, UAE, Kyrgyzstan at home, and at Iran. You win a couple of those. You beat Qatar, you draw with the UAE, and you manage to beat Kyrgyzstan. You're saying there's a chance. North Korea has yet to win a game in this group stage, though. So
yeah, I would not expect a lot.
Elsewhere, South Korea continues to roll, top of their group. Japan won comfortably. I think it was Australia struggled a bit this week. I'm pretty sure they lost.
That is Group C.
Yeah, that group is extremely exciting. You have Japan who has 16 points, Australia in second with 7, and they just drew this past international break with Saudi Arabia 0-0 and Bahrain 2-2. But then, like you're saying, the other 4 teams all have 6 points, so it's very, very, very close, and that one's gonna be exciting.
That one's gonna be awesome to watch because everyone is gonna have a shot at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean Japan's cooking. They're gonna go to the World Cup, no doubt. But then there's a spot for that last automatic bid, and then to advance to the 4th round as well. And everyone still has a shot. Like that's gonna be fun to watch.
And the hard part for that, just looking at Australia, they have to play Saudi Arabia, Japan, China, and Indonesia. So that's not easy at all. And it's really the Japan one that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 teams who don't have to play Japan, though, they are China doesn't have to play them. And I think that is it. Yeah, so China's the one who doesn't have to play this Japanese side who has clinched a spot in at least the 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, I think they need 3 more points to clinch a spot in the World Cup because at this point, no one will catch them. Any other international break stuff you want to touch on at all before we hop into this riveting weekend of Premier League action?
I think we basically got it.
I'm here for that as well. So moving to the Premier League, pretty straightforward match of the week. I always like to start with it. Man City and Tottenham. What are you expecting? Because there's also the news that Pep Guardiola is going to re-sign as manager.
Just did.
Yep, so he did do that. I didn't know if it was official yet.
As of us doing this show, it happened I think the announcement happened while we started.
There we go. We got some breaking news for you then, folks. Pep Guardiola is staying. Is it what? You may have the details.
I think I saw he's through 2026.
Oh, yeah. So another 2 seasons then. Another season.
Yeah, 26 months ago.
How do you think that impacts them going into this one? Because Man City's lost 4 straight. They need to get something going.
Well, I mean, what it does is it takes away the distraction of, is Pep Guardiola going to be here next year, off the table? Now you know he is. So, I mean, I feel like the players had to have at least kind of known that he was going to still be around. Like, I'm sure you could get that feeling. So I don't know if it makes a huge difference there, but in terms of from a fan perspective, it takes a lot of pressure off you. It takes a lot of concern out of it kind of takes that away completely. So from that perspective, it helps a lot. And just overall, I mean, knowing that he's going to be back will definitely give him some form of a boost. Again, I'm sure the players knew, but seeing him actually put pen to paper has just got to be a huge boost and be like, all right, sweet. We don't have to worry about what life is like next season. We know it's going to be more of the same. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to help. I think the international window itself is going to be more beneficial because they had time away, time to work and training, time to just kind of get their minds right and focus on the rest of the season, especially this very busy kind of Christmas schedule coming up here. So I think that's going to have a bigger impact. But, I mean, it definitely does help seeing him put pen to paper for sure.
Yeah, and as you brought up the Christmas Day fixtures and all that busyness, from now until the end of December, Man City have 10 matches. And that's more or less a match every 3.5, 4 days. So it's a lot of matches in a small window of time, including a couple Champions League ones. They have to travel to Italy to play Juventus, home to Feyenoord. But as far as the Tottenham match goes, what are you expecting from, since we're talking about Man City, what are you expecting from them? Do you think it'll be a more revitalized and kind of fresher team? Because as we mentioned earlier, Haaland is putting up goals for Norway and getting his momentum going, as are a couple other players. So Do you expect it to be a different Man City team that comes out than the one we've seen the last 4 matches?
I do, and I'm going to make this call now. Could be completely wrong, but I think they'll get a shutout in this one. I think they'll get a clean sheet. I think they're going to come out with more energy, a lot more confidence. I think it'll look more like the Manchester City team that we've seen, you know. And again, this is a big one for Tottenham. It's a chance for them to make a statement, for them to get their season turning back the way they want to as well on the road at Manchester City. So both these teams are kind of going into it with the same mentality of like, this is a huge opportunity to kind of turn things in our way, get that huge momentum boost that we need to kick on as we head into this busy holiday schedule. But I think it's going to be Manchester City who does it, because at the end of the day, they've got the better players, they do have the better manager, and they're at home as well. So I really just don't see Tottenham kind of overcoming this. I think you see Haaland get at least 1 goal. And I do think they'll get a clean sheet. I think they're going to have spent so much time focusing on that during this international window. And again, certain players have been hurt. People went with their national teams. Yeah, we get that. But I do think they're going to have that kind of better defensive focus when they go into this game versus what they've been showing through most of the season.
Yep, I honestly agree with you. I think it's going to be a very different Man City team and look especially much better at the defensive end. I think Kevin De Bruyne will likely start again, and that'll be kind of he'll be able to control the midfield and control the possession more than we've seen Man City in the last couple of matches. Also want to put it out that the first of these 4 losses for Man City came against Tottenham. Sure, it was kind of with a backup team, but I'm sure Pep hasn't forgotten about that. And ready to make a statement now that it actually, not that that doesn't matter, but now it really matters in the Premier League. I'm with you. I think I do question Tottenham's defensive ability, especially with sounds like Mickey Van de Ven's still going to be out, Christian Romero still out, Rodrigo Bentancur is suspended at the moment, so don't really know when he'll be back. But I have Man City winning relatively comfortably. I think it'll be 2-0. I'd like to shout out for a clean sheet. I'd like to shout out for Haaland to score. Also wouldn't be surprised if we see like someone kind of like a Phil Foden or one of these other guys who hasn't done a bunch this season, but is still very dangerous. Because Foden hasn't scored a goal yet this season. This seems like one.
Foden has been a shell of the player that we saw last season, to put it simply.
And it's only a matter of time before he kind of gets going, because he is such a talented player, but something just needs to switch on in his mind. So,
yeah.
And we have it for that one. Moving on to one that could very well be a one-sided match in the end, but it has a lot of intrigue, is Man United traveling to Ipswich Town. Ipswich coming off their first Premier League win since 2002, beating Tottenham 2-1. That also doesn't give me a lot of faith about Tottenham, is last time out, you lost to Ipswich. But the real story behind this is it will be the debut for Ruben Amorim, the new Manchester United manager. What are you expecting from him and Man U in this game?
I think you'll see more energy, more pride on the field than we've been seeing. I don't expect to see dramatic shifts in overall like play style and stuff like that, because he just got there. But I do think you'll see players who feel like a certain weight's been lifted off of their shoulders, because the end of the Ten Hag era, it looked so miserable to be a Manchester United player. They look so miserable being out in the field. So I think you'll see kind of like a vibrance that you haven't seen with them in a while when they're playing. I think that'll be the biggest difference. Again, I wouldn't expect to see a whole lot of huge fundamental changes so far, just because he just got there. Expect to see pretty similar levels of play for right now. Maybe a few tactical decisions that change some things up. But I think the biggest thing is you're just going to see more in the attitudes and the body language of the Man U players. I expect to see more energy, more excitement. That's the biggest thing that I think we'll see in the first couple games. Even if the results don't go their way, I think you'll see that.
I agree. I agree in terms of it won't be an immediate just switch and suddenly they're playing his way and everyone's superb. Because Man U had a lot of players who went off for the international break as well. I will say, this is a tricky fixture. Not that Ipswich is a great team by any means, or actually one of the relegation battling sides, to put it that way, but that means that Man U has all the pressure not to lose this.
Yeah.
Going away, the pressure is on Emirion, on the players. I really, really, really want to pick Ipswich to win this. I don't think they will. I think if anyone does, it will be Man U, but it's the fact that it's kind of a new manager, new play style, coming back from the international break. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we see a draw in this one, but I think this will be my bold prediction for the weekend is an Ipswich Man U draw. I'll go 1-1. They've both scored the exact same amount of goals. The only difference is Ipswich has conceded far more. But I just don't trust Man U at all. Harry Maguire is still injured. Kobe Mainoo is still injured. And Martinez, Luke Shaw, Lindelof all have little knocks here and there, so I don't know what their status is yet. We won't know until the day before whether or not they'll be healthy when Emirion has his first press conference ahead of a game. So we'll find out more details on that later. But I would love to see Ipswich come in and spoil his debut. I think if anyone wins, it will be Man U. It's going to be interesting to say the least because Ipswich, sure, they aren't winning much, but they're playing teams tight. They played Tottenham tight, obviously beating them. They drew with Aston Villa, drew with Brighton, who we've had good things about. They were in that game on the opening day against Liverpool for the first 60 minutes and quickly gave up 2 in succession. Man City, they jumped out ahead 7 minutes in. So they're coming to play. It's just the consistency and the depth that they have is being outshined. Yeah, whereas Man U's look terrible this year.
They have. But that's the problem with the newly promoted side is there's just going to be a certain talent gap. Coming from the championship, obviously you can buy players in the summer, but you're not going to be able to attract the kind of players that a Liverpool or even a Man U is going to be able to attract. But you're right. Ipswich has had some pretty impressive performances, even if they don't necessarily get the result that they want. They've looked better than I expected them to look, that I think the majority of people who follow the Premier League expected them to look. But again, kind of going back to your point, I don't see them winning this game. I do like the tie shout, and I really hope that happens. I'm still leading Man U. I think that positive energy boost that they're going to get from Amorim joining is going to carry them over the line. I'm going 2-1. I think Ipswich is going to get themselves a goal. But I think Man U will find a way to get all 3 points.
Does Delop get the goal for Ipswich, getting his 7th of the season?
You'd have to figure he'd be involved somehow, right? He's their star boy. So, let's give it to him.
I'm asking for one thing and one thing only. Give me, if he's playing, a Calvin Phillips goal or an assist and Leif Davis. Give me the 2 Leeds boys, former Leeds players, combining to get a goal against Man U.
Hey, bro.
It'll happen because I don't think Calvin Phillips will play. Leif Davis has a better chance. He does lead the team in assists with 2. So there's that. Hey, there we go. I think it'll be an intriguing one to see how Emirion does on his debut, especially with the fixtures he has coming up after that. Everton, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Man City. To say the least, it's not easy to stretch. But the only other one we're really going to go in detail on, because as we said, and you'll see when we go through our predictions for all the other matches, they're not great. Newcastle West Ham, though, has some intrigue to it. Newcastle currently sitting 8th in the table. West Ham a miserable 14th, 6 points back of Newcastle. But everyone, like you said on last week's episode, is so close to each other. What are you expecting from this one?
Heading into this one? Sorry, I kind of lost the audio there. Can you say that again?
Yeah, with where they are in the table and how Newcastle's won their last 3, West Ham has won 1 of their last 3. What do you expect from both of these teams heading into Monday's fixture?
Yeah. So I've liked what I've seen from Newcastle recently. And it goes back to a point that you made a while ago, and he must have heard you because he suddenly started scoring. You need Alexander Isak to be that guy. You need him to be the goal scorer. And ever since he started scoring goals, we've seen Newcastle picking up results. So I think that's been their biggest positive heading into this, is that they finally started playing well and they got their goal scoring talisman to finally start doing what he should have been doing from the very beginning, which is scoring goals. So the fact that he did that heading into the international break was huge. And I think that will carry over into this. Whether or not Isak scores, I do think that positive momentum that they built will carry over, especially with them being at home heading into this one. So I'm feeling pretty good about Newcastle's chances. They've shot their way back up into 8th place heading into this. West Ham is kind of languishing towards the bottom a little bit, which is really disappointing. Again, we talked about this as well with the players that they signed. We just thought they would be further up, especially with Lopetegui as their manager. He's a good manager. It just hasn't clicked so far for them. And I don't see that happening in this game. I think Newcastle's finally kind of getting things going. They've finally found their identity a little bit, and they found their goals. So I think that'll carry over to this game. I'm feeling like Newcastle wins 2-0. I don't think West Ham gets a goal. I'm going to say I think Isak scores again. I think he's going to continue that goal scoring formula here. And I think Newcastle looks pretty comfortable in doing this. They've looked good recently. Again, who knows what will happen after the international break? You could have a bit of a hangover effect. Maybe West Ham's able to punish him because of that. But I see them carrying that momentum that they had leading into this international window. I see that carrying over into this game. And I'm getting a 2-0 win.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Once again, I think Newcastle's the better team. They will be without Dan Burn defensively, which gives me a little bit of a concern, but I believe Mohamed Kudus has been suspended. He's missed the last 3 games. I think he should be back for this one, but he got a straight red card. So if he's back, that changes things a bit. But it's Alexander Isak is the story of this one for me. He has done so well against West Ham. He scored in all 3 of his games against them in the Premier League, and I expect him to do it again. He had a goal and an assist in Sweden's first international game against Slovakia. Didn't score in the 90 minutes he played in their second one, but you didn't have to. And Kubalewski's putting in 2, and Victor is putting in 4. So
yeah,
I'm expecting Newcastle. I will give West Ham credit and say they get 1, but I think this finishes 2 or 3-1 once again for the team up north. Any other games you want to go into a bit of detail on, or anything on these last 3 that we've talked about before we just kind of hop into our predictions and previews?
I think we should just hop into the predictions and previews. Again, none of these games are monumental in stature, to say the least.
Starting with one, Leicester and City, or Leicester and Chelsea. Wow, words are difficult. But I'm expecting Chelsea to run pretty easily through Leicester here. Leicester have looked very at times. Chelsea have looked surprisingly good at the moment. So I'm expecting Chelsea to win this one 1-0, but a dominant 1-0.
So I was going to say 3-1 final. I can see Leicester getting 1 goal. I think Chelsea's going to get a few. I think they'll get a few. Again, like you said, they've looked surprisingly good recently. I think that carries over into this game. I just don't see any way that Leicester is a team to kind of stop that. So I think Chelsea wins. I think they win 3-1. Very comfortable.
Okay, like it. Now on to your team. After being winless in your last 3, Arsenal hosts Nottingham Forest, who lost 3-1 to Newcastle last time out. What are you expecting from Arsenal, and do they get back to winning ways here?
I think we do. Looking at the table, this is remarkable. Arsenal sitting in 4th, Nottingham Forest in 5th, tied on points, 1 goal difference separating them. Arsenal has 6, they have 5. So it's basically as dead even of a game as you could have in terms of the table. But I think Arsenal's got this one. We really do at home. Things haven't really been going our way, but again, we had the international break. We had some players stay at home, which was good. Bukayo Saka stayed at home. We had guys who were
Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard was at home.
Exactly. We had all these guys still there, so we had time to work with them on the training pitch, kind of get Odegaard back integrated into the team, which is good to see. So I'm feeling good about this. I'm feeling good about this stretch coming up, to be completely honest. And I think it starts with a win against Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go 2-0. I think Forest actually shows out pretty well. They've been looking really good. I think we find a way to score 2 goals and win 2-0.
Okay. I like that. Your defense has been superb, only allowed 12 goals this season, but Nottingham Forest has only allowed 10. So their defense has been hard to break down. I do think the return of Martin Odegaard, if he's back in full fitness, because he wasn't really in that Chelsea match. He's sure he got the assist, but he still looked like he was lacking a step or two there. I think Arsenal could win this one very handedly, but I don't think they will. I think we'll have like a 2-1 or a 1-0. I think we'll have a 1-goal game on our hands here. I do think it'll be Arsenal who pulls it out, but I think it'll be one that if it's 2-1, it'll be 2-0 Arsenal. Forest will score midway through the second half and kind of just put that pressure on, and Arsenal will fight to survive with Silva and everyone back there. Moving down, Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. Get you through this quick. Aston Villa has lost their last 4 matches, not looking great at the moment. Do they finally get back to winning ways?
Yeah, they got Crystal Palace, or they should at the very least. So I think they win. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm loving that scoreline right now, but I think that's the best way I could see this game going. I don't really see Crystal Palace threatening that much, to be completely honest. I think Villa should handle this one pretty easily, and they get all 3 points.
I like it. Crystal Palace, I will say, did beat Aston Villa in the EFL Cup on October 30th, so not that long ago. But I just feel like Villa has to turn it around at some point, and this is one that I could see them doing that. Palace is in the relegation zone. I think this will be a showing from Aston Villa. They haven't scored very many goals all season in games. They only have 3 a couple times, but I think they'll put 3 past them. I have them winning 3-1. Moving on down, Bournemouth and Brighton. Anytime there's Bournemouth, there's a lot of goals. I have this one being a very high-scoring game as well. I have it being 3-2 or a 4-2 for Brighton to beat Bournemouth.
So I have a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there will be goals, but I don't know. For this one, for me, it's got draw written all over it, so I'm going 2-2.
All right. Get that. The next one is the one I have my draw coming. Everton and Brentford. I just have a feeling that this is going to be a 0-0-esque. Both teams have a couple chances, more Brentford than Everton, but neither team's going to be able to crack the back of the net.
So I'm going Brentford. I think they win 2-1. Just find a way to get a late goal. I feel a late goal winner coming from Brentford. Pretty even game, I think. But I think Brentford's the one who ultimately finds that way.
Do you think we'll have a 1-goal game when Fulham host the Wolverhampton Wanderers?
No, I don't. I'm going 3-1 Fulham. I can see Wolves scoring because they do have some decent attackers. Cunha, very good player. But yeah, I gotta go 3-1 Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, Wolves have scored the exact same amount of goals as Fulham. They both have 16. In the bottom 10 of the table, only Brentford has scored more goals than Wolves. The issue, though, is defensively. They've given up 27. I love the 3-1 shout. I'm thinking either 2-1 or 2-0. I'll go 2-1 just because I think Wolves will find the back of the net because they always seem to. But I feel like this will be like a basketball game where they're just back and forth, up and down the pitch. Leaves us with 1 match left, and I think this might be the biggest blowout of the entire weekend. Doesn't get much further apart in the table than Liverpool, who are top of the table, traveling to Southampton, who are bottom of the table. Do you believe in miracles?
No, not when Southampton's involved.
Agreed.
I'm going to make this simple. 3-0. Should be more.
I'm going 4. I do think it will be more. Mo Salah balls out, gets at least 1, maybe even 2. And I'll throw another Darwin Nunez goal in there as well. There we have it. Anything else you want to touch on Premier League-wise, football-wise, anything-wise before we wrap it up?
I think we basically got it, but get ready for another year of Guardiola after this. We just can't escape it.
Nope. But hey, at least it's fun to watch most of the time. As long as your team's not involved in a title race with him.
Yeah, that would really suck.
Yeah, I can't imagine being with Leeds. I'm worried enough about avoiding the playoff in the second division, not worrying about Man City. But, right. Eventually, something's going to have to break. We can't let him win every title before his contract ends.
Yeah, you know what? If Arnie slots someone to do it, okay, there's got to be somebody, right? At a certain point, it's been 4 years, back to back to back to back. It's got to be somebody.
Yeah.
Even if it's Arnie Slot, it's not Arteta. Okay, it's just got to be somebody.
Yeah. I wasn't Jurgen Klopp. Couldn't quite get it done in the last couple of years, but we'll see. A lot of games left. We are only 11 matches into the season. It feels like we've had so many more matches. But that's the issue that we are facing at the moment. Not from a fan's point of view. You're getting more and more, but player-wise, that's what we hear complaints about. So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our podcast, It's Called Football, or any of our other Vendetta Sports Media shows. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.